A lovely evening to you and welcome to Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We thank you for joining us. I am Lydia Odije Ochi. The High Presidential Committee set up to assess the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the nation's economy has formally submitted an interim report to President Muhammadu Buhari. Chairman of the committee and Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, however, told newsmen that the president directed the members to deepen consultations on the matter and report back to him with an update next week. The Minister of Finance used the opportunity to announce that 285 billion naira has so far been released for capital expenditure to a number of agencies towards sustaining the provision of critical infrastructure. Give an update on the capital releases so far from the 2020 Appropriations Act. More on COVID-19. The second case of coronavirus disease in Nigeria, a contact of the index case, now tests negative to the virus, just as the index case is stable with high possibility of getting discharged by next week. Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Hanire, disclosed this at a news conference in Abuja. The minister also dwelt on the activation of the country's points of entry policy on prevention and control of cross-border transmission of yellow fever.
The index case is clinically stable and is much improved. Steady progress till early next week will guide the medical team in discharging him. The second confirmed case, a contact of the index case, is testing negative for the virus now, meaning he has cleared the virus and will be allowed to go home. A group of 4 children and their teacher flew into Lagos from the United States, but prior to their arrival, Nigeria CDC was informed by US CDC that this group had been in the same space with a confirmed case of COVID-19. We therefore sent these travelers into isolation on their arrival, and tests were done, which came back negative for all of them. They will still stay in self-isolation for 14 days. As of today, 13th of March 2020, Nigeria has recorded still just 2 confirmed cases of COVID-19 with no deaths. 1 case is now negative and will be discharged from care, while the other will follow in a few days.
That was the Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Hanire, giving a press briefing on COVID-19. As part of its preventive measures against COVID-19, otherwise known as coronavirus, Katsina State government has provided 20 hectares of land at Ajiwa village for the construction of a befitting emergency relief center for the effective preventive measures against the killer disease in the state. Mohammed Salisu Awal reports on this and other measures taken by the state government against the disease.
In Katsina State, the 20 hectares of land donated by the state government is to consist different offices and isolation center where victims of the disease will be admitted for treatment. Similarly, the multi-million naira center is to have a laboratory, emergency wards, conference hall for enlightenment campaigns, among others. Commissioner of Health Katsina State, Yakubu Nuhu Danja, said Katsina State government has taken concrete measures for the prevention against the viral disease. Apart from the ongoing construction of emergency relief center, the state government has released adequate funds to procure essential commodities for preventive measures. Similarly, the state government has also embarked on mass sensitization of religious leaders, traditional leaders, motor parks, schools and other places with large turnout of people through seminars, television programs and radio jingles. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Dr. Kabir Mustafa, stressed the need for improvement on public health, especially at rural areas, and called for the usage of sanitizers in hand washing and avoidance of careless sneezing in the public.
The state has, since the announcement of the first outbreak of, or the first identified case of COVID in Nigeria, had been on red alert, just like I said, through our disease notification officers in all the 34 LGAs.
A visit to a public school in Katsina revealed how students use sanitizers as preventive measures against any communicable disease. NTA News also visited Ofa Marusa and Katsina Central Motor Park, where officials of the road transport workers and passengers called for more commitment from the state government to be able to avert the occurrence of the disease in Katsina State. In Katsina, Mohamed Salis Awal, NTA News.
We now go to Port Harcourt for more on the COVID-19 as we link up with Ijeoma Ugweke in Port Harcourt for the latest development in the state from the teaching hospital there. Ijeoma, now tell us, what is the situation report in Port Harcourt, especially on the rumored reports of a tested positive case in the state?
Welcome to Port Harcourt. We are here at the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital. Since the outbreak of coronavirus, there has been sensitization going on at different quarters. People are keen into the hand washing with alcoholic-based sanitizers, and people are aware of the disease. Here in Port Harcourt, since the outbreak, there has been continuous screening at different points, different entry points into the state, and especially the Port Harcourt International Airport. And since then, there has not been any kind of panic in Port Harcourt. People are moving about their normal activities, and the rumor peddling around concerning the victim tested with COVID-19, the Commissioner for Information in Rivers State says there is nothing like that, no case like COVID-19 in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. And in the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital, there is a press briefing that we are waiting for the authorities to brief us on what is happening. But before now, we have known what exactly that is on ground, and people are not panicking.
Thank you, Ijeoma. We hope to get more from you after the press briefing. Thank you so much. Next, the level of awareness and preparedness to contain any eventual outbreak of COVID-19 disease is gaining momentum in Delta State. Helen Dunko reports that as a result of this new development, the cost of face masks and hand sanitizers have skyrocketed.
It has been observed that the cost of hand sanitizer and face mask is soaring higher in Asaba, the Delta State capital.
Just before the COVID-19, a face mask was sold at 200 naira in pharmacy and 50 naira in open shops. But right now, I bought this face mask last night at 2,000 naira. And one pack of 50 pieces is sold for 40,000 naira.
Yeah, face mask is really important. It's one of the gadgets that individuals are expected to put on in order to avoid contracting the coronavirus disease. But again, at this stage where we are, as long as the case have not been reported in Delta State, there's no need for us to begin to cause panic.
Coronavirus, which has been ravaging most countries in Asia, Europe, and the United States, is not the same case in Nigeria. In Delta State, Chairman, Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Isioma Okoba, reminded Deltans of personal hygiene in the face of coronavirus. Sensitization and awareness in public places such as schools, motor parks, and markets are ongoing.
Our auntie is telling us that we should always be neat, that we should always wash our hands.
The epidemic is everybody's affair now. We have to start with normal health education.
Government, however, say they intend to intensify the awareness campaign. In Asaba, Helen Donku, NTA News.
Still on COVID-19 from Makudi. Although the practice of hand washing in public places such as schools has been embraced in Benue State in preventing the outbreak of COVID-19, other public places such as markets and motor parks are yet to key into this personal hygiene practice. Sandra Domwese Akeme monitored the level of preparedness in public places in Makudi in case of any outbreak.
The emergence of diseases such as the Ebola and Lassa fever, and most recently the ravaging coronavirus, calls for strengthening of personal hygiene practices if the spread of these diseases must be controlled. While public places such as schools have adopted the practice of hand washing within their vicinities, other places such as markets and motor parks are still ignorant of the existence and consequences of COVID-19.
The coronavirus now waiting. If you see, maybe if you look at the wall of the school, you see how we write around to remind our students that they should always wash their hands.
What we do to safeguard our family and neighbors is to make sure that we keep hygienic practices.
For some traders and buyers in markets, the environment in these places exposes them to danger in case of any outbreak.
Environment itself matters a lot because where we are selling, like I sell food in the market, you can see the environment we are selling is very, very bad.
Worrisome is that most government offices are without these basic hygiene items, such as hand washing basins and hand sanitizers. In Makudi, Sandra Duesi Akeme, NTA News.
We now join Ifeoma Ndokoli at Umuahia for more on COVID-19 from her zone. Ifeoma, fill us in.
Despite the various response mechanisms put in place by the Abia State government, as well as sensitization campaigns, both in local and foreign languages, on measures to check the spread of coronavirus in the state, the campaign seems not to be enough, as some residents are still ignorant of ways to protect themselves.
I don't hear about coronavirus before.
Some others express their fear concerning the virus.
I heard it, even I'm not happy about that.
Also, the demand for hand sanitizers in Umuahia is on the increase despite the hike in the price of the products. Meanwhile, Abia State government has cited isolation centers as some of the strategic health facilities in the state as part of their strategies to check the spread of the disease.
We have identified some centers which we want to use as isolation centers.
As at the time of this report, no case of the dreaded COVID-19 has been reported in any of the health facilities in the state. In Umuahia, Ifeoma Ndokoli, NTA News.
Away from coronavirus for now. Nigeria has formally recognized Umaru Sissoco Embalo as president of Guinea-Bissau. This came to light when President Muhammadu Buhari accorded a befitting reception for the new leader of the West African nation at the presidential villa. State House correspondent Adam Musambo will tell us more.
This is the third time the new leader of Guinea-Bissau, Umaru Sissoco Embalo, is visiting President Muhammadu Buhari since he was declared elected on January 1st by the nation's electoral body, the CNE. Although the election was later disputed, Umaru Sissoco Embalo formally took over the reins of power on February 27, shortly after the country's interim president resigned. This red carpet reception for him by President Muhammadu Buhari clearly indicated Nigeria's formal recognition of his presidency. President Embalo, popularly referred to as the General, is here to say thank you to President Muhammadu Buhari for Nigeria's tremendous support and assistance towards stabilizing his country and preserving democratic ideals. And this is the focus of his media briefing after a closed-door meeting with the Nigerian leader on areas of common interest and the best way forward for Guiné-Bissau.
Nigéria já demonstrou ao povo da Guiné-Bissau a solidariedade nos momentos mais difíceis.
Nigeria has shown to the Guinean people the solidarity in the most difficult moments of our country. Therefore, we are aware that Nigeria is a reference for democracy in the whole world. We have always shown that democratic choice is the best way to resolve things. Once again, I thank you, Baba, my dad, for everything you've been doing. I will always come to Nigeria to ask for your advices and to the people of Nigeria.
The senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, speaks on the significance of the high-level engagement between the two leaders.
This signifies the conclusion of the processes in their own country, and the fact of the recognition of the emergence of Embalo as a president, recognition duly given by the leaders of the sub-region, Senegal, Niger, which is ECOWAS chair, and Nigeria. Essentially, he's here to thank Nigeria and to thank our president for standing by him in his victory and for ensuring that democracy is sustained in their own country. The president was emphatic in this meeting. He's been emphatic on this all the time. The duty of stabilizing the West African sub-region is on the shoulders of African leaders, more importantly Nigeria, and the president will not be failing in this duty. Leaders of the sub-region will keep the region stable, politically, economically, and in terms of security. This is the assurance he has given.
The 47-year-old President Umaru Sissoco Embalo, a former army chief, served as Prime Minister of Guinea-Bissau between 2016 and 2018. He got elected president as opposition candidate in the second round of voting, beating another ex-prime minister in an election described as free, fair, and credible by the United Nations and other election observers. Guinea-Bissau, a country of less than 2 million people, has seen 9 coups or attempted coups since 1974. The immediate past president, Jose Mario Vaz, who crashed out of the last election won by President Embalo in the first round of voting, was the first head of state to carry out his term without being deposed. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
More from Asovila. The presidency has debunked the alleged attack on President Muhammadu Buhari's opening of the Argungu Fishing and Cultural Festival in Kebbi. In a statement by Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, the claim of the alleged attack is the handwork of malicious people. The statement added that it was the first time the international tourism event would hold in 11 years, as security considerations had rendered it impracticable. The statement further clarifies that the alleged incident took place as the president went round the arena to inspect rice pyramids on display. And while taking photographs with farmers, a young man so excited to see his president got too close as he made an attempt to get to the president. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has ordered the Inspector General of Police and the Director General of the Department of State Security Services to ensure that the freedom of movement of the dethroned Muhammadu Sanusi II is not curtailed. Justice Anwuli Chikere gave the order following an ex parte motion filed by the applicant. Olabode Arewa reports.
The ex parte motion filed by Muhammadu Sanusi II, referred to in court as Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, was filed on 8 grounds. He is challenging his banishment from Kano to Nasarawa State and the restriction of his movement after his dethronement.
His counsel, Lateef Fagbemi told the court that the 4 respondents, the Inspector General of Police, the DGDSS, the Attorney General of the Federation, and the Kano State Government have no powers under Section 35 of the 1999 Constitution to deprive Sanusi of his liberty, since there are no criminal proceedings against him. The court, having heard the prayers, granted the order sought and directed the respondents not to infringe on the applicant's right to free movement anywhere in the country except Kano State. The court also ordered that its order and the originating motion be served on the respondents and adjourned the case to March 26 for further hearing.
When you have any problem, it is better sorted out in court than to resort to cordial or war. And this is why our client has taken the civilized way of approaching the court. We are happy for the courageous pronouncement of the court.
Sanusi was dethroned as the Emir of Kano on Monday by the Kano State government for alleged disobedience to constituted authorities. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
Let's take our first commercial break now. More reports when we return. Don't go away. Welcome back and thanks for staying. Our next set of reports concern security. The Nigerian Air Force says the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole has destroyed a Boko Haram terrorist meeting venue at Kadi, Wanzama, on the fringes of the Sambisa Forest in Borno State. In a statement by NAF Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ibiku Ledara Mola, this was achieved on March the 8th, 2020, in the latest series of attacks under the ongoing NAF Operation Decisive Edge, sequel to intelligence missions, which established that the Kadi Wanzama settlement, known for active interconnecting tracks linking various terrorist locations, was being used as terrorist staging post for planning attacks. The Air Task Force then engaged the location, completely destroying the target compounds within the settlement. The airstrikes also eliminated several of the terrorists as they hid out in target structures, further contributing to the attainment of the overall mission of Operation Decisive Edge, which is to destroy Boko Haram terrorists before they can swoop on troops or innocent citizens. The NAF says it will continue to carry out air interdiction missions in synergy with surface troops against the enemies of the nation. House of Representatives Committee on Army has assured the people and government of Borno State of its support in the quest to end insurgency in the northeast. This was brought to the fore when the committee, led by its chairman Abdulrazak Namdas, called on Governor Babagana Umara Zulum at the Government House, Maiduguri, on a working visit to the state. Mohammed Goni reports.
The Federal House of Representatives Committee on Army was in the state at the instance of the House to, among other things, investigate the attack on Auno community, which led to loss of lives and property, condole and interact with the bereaved families, as well as offer recommendations on how to avoid future occurrence. Chairman House Committee on Army Abdulrazak Namdas said the House of Representatives is worried by the incidents, hence mandating the committee to visit the state.
As a committee, we want to commend you for the good job you've been doing for the armed forces. You have provided so many equipments, vehicles, and so many assistance to the armed forces, and even in particular, the people of Borno State. We want to say on record that for me and your committee, Professor Babagana Zulum, you are one of the best governors, if not the best.
The chairman further noted the sacrifices of the military personnel in the counter-insurgency operations, stressing that the leadership at all levels need to encourage them. Governor Babagana Umara appreciated the Federal House of Representatives for its continued support towards ending the insurgency. The governor raised concern about the resurgence of attacks and expressed the need to take the war to the enclaves of the insurgents, building trust between the civil populace and the military, as well as allow farmers access to their farmlands.
Visit to that particular place is very important because that will increase the confidence between the people and the house.
The governor and the delegation later went into a closed-door session. In Maiduguri, Mahmoud Goni, NTA News.
From Calabar, the House of Representatives Committee on Navy is expressing satisfaction with the level of commitment exhibited by the Eastern Naval Command of the Nigerian Navy towards securing its maritime domain, as well as providing infrastructural development for all its officers, ratings, and civilians working in the command. The reformation of the Nigerian Correctional Service is gathering pace with the groundbreaking ceremony for yet another 3,000 capacity all-inclusive custodial center in Karshi, the Federal Capital Territory. Victor Azu reports that the project, which is one out of the 6 earmarked for the different geopolitical zones, is to enhance reformation and reintegration of offenders into society.
Early arrivals at Karishi, Abuja, site of the 3,000 capacity custodial center for the North Central Zone. As expected, a project of this magnitude attracts many, but only at this stage. Once completed, it becomes the exclusive preserve of offenders. There will be one in each geopolitical zone, and Nigeria hasn't seen anything like this before. The event comes alive as the Minister of Interior arrives to perform the groundbreaking ceremony. But first, the Controller General of Prisons, Jafaru Ahmed, prepares the minds of attendees for what is to come.
The first phase of the 3,000 capacity maximum custodial center being constructed here, among others, consists of the following: a maximum security custodial center, for long-term and high-risk inmates, a medium security custodial center for the medium and long-term minor offenders, and 2 other courtrooms for the High Court and a magistrate for easy dispensation of cases, standard workshops and vocational centers, classrooms, hospitals, places of worship, chapel and a mosque, recreational centers for indoor games, squash court, football pitches, etc.
This, the minister says, is to effect behavioral changes in inmates.
Improving physical housing is important, and that is what we are doing here today. You however, owe them and the society to complete their reformation with the appropriate reprogramming.
With 6 of these to be across the country, better days are indeed here for Nigeria's criminal justice system. In Abuja, Victor Azu, NTA News.
Governor Aminu Masari of Katsina State has received 13 core members, out of which 4 were abducted by kidnappers along Funtua in Katsina State on their way to Zamfara and Sokoto states for their 1-year mandatory service. Correspondent Awal Haliri reports that the victims were graduates of Rufus Giwa Polytechnic Owo in Ondo State.
The 4 prospective corps members who traveled from Akure, Ondo State for their 1-year mandatory service in Katsina were abducted Monday night along Funtua axis by some gunmen who posed as members of the Nigerian Army. Receiving the corps members, Governor Aminu Bello Masari expressed dismay on the unfortunate circumstance, noting that corps members are pride of the country and should move freely without any form of threat to their lives.
Are working hand in hand together with the Directorate of State Services in order to make sure that the issue of kidnapping and banditry has been laid to rest.
Governor, who admonished the corps members to always take safety into consideration and avoid traveling at night, considering security challenges bedeviling some parts of the country, also appealed to the general public to be security cautious at all times. Governor Masari donated the sum of 100,000 naira each to the rescued corps members as token for their upkeep, as they said, for their 3 weeks orientation course. One of the victims narrates their audio.
We're taken into the bush where we work from that 11:30 till dawn. We actually slept on a rock till this morning before the rescue mission.
Police Public Relations Officer SP Gamba Isa explained how the victims were rescued.
Such party led by OC SARS Katsina, the army, in collaboration with repentant bandits, the team succeeded in locating the camp of the kidnappers, engaged them into a fierce gun duel, and rescued the remaining 4 National Youth Corps members.
The corps members have since reported to come in Katsina for the commencement of the orientation. In Katsina, Awal Haliru, NTA News.
We still have more on security. Cultists are in for tough times as the Nigeria Police Force unveils a program to end such activities and similar vices in the country. Francis Form reports that the initiative is geared towards protecting the youth from the hazards of the crime.
The activities of cultists, especially in the educational sector, are said to be responsible for degeneration of moral values among students and youths, and also poses threats to peace and security of the nation. The Nigeria Police is now evolving new initiatives to address the root cause of the problem.
At present, all police public relations officers across the country have been sensitized on their roles in the nationwide implementation of POCACOF, while zonal and state police commands have been directed to commence the process of the full implementation of the campaign.
Let me take the opportunity to call on governors to join the greater war against cultists.
It is one initiative that seems to have secured the buy in many stakeholders who pledged to partner with the police in addressing the menace.
All hands must be on deck to address the issues of cultism and other vices that affects our children.
We should take this message to support the police to make sure that we come back to where we know how to take care of one another, make sure our children are well brought up.
That the Nigerian police will work out a program of enlisting quality undercover officers to the various higher institutions as a way of infiltrating and neutralizing the activities of core groups.
The initiative is both preventive and punitive, as Please leads campaign against involvement in cultism. It also perfects strategies to deal with those involved to serve as deterrents. In Abuja, Francis Form, NTA News.
Looking at the disposition of women and the great influence they wield on any issue by the virtue of their status, it will be wise to engage them in national security matters and peace building if calm is to be restored. This is the consensus at a national security summit organized for women across Nigeria. Momso Damien reports from the International Conference Center in Abuja.
Now, still talking women issues and the need for gender equality. The consciousness of women is being awakened to the critical roles they can play as wives, mothers, caregivers in ensuring that Nigeria is secured of all vices. That's why this Women's Security Summit is holding in Abuja to empower women on the power they can wield in influencing security issues in the country.
Ensure women's meaningful participation in peace process, the implementation of peace agreements and related decision making.
We are using this forum to present this request to the Inspector General of Police to help us. And any rape case, please, the men should not be supported. They should not sign them. They should quickly charge those cases to court. This is our humble plea. The girl child is suffering.
As a mother, I should let my children know what their roles are. I should be able to teach them, talk to them, and help them to live right so that their own existence will not constitute danger to others. And as a wife, I need to let my husband also.
They enjoy a measure of influence on their husbands. They enjoy a measure of influence on and they are the people that are excluded when the issue of peace and security is concerned. So we want to correct that.
The summit recommends for the immediate and active involvement of women in security matters.
Thank you, Momso. Time to join Abubakar Mohammed Musa in Maiduguri for more reports on Nationwide. Abubakar.
It's good to see you, Lydia, and thanks for joining us in Maiduguri. Lake Chad Basin Commission has presented a regional stabilization, recovery and resilience strategy document to the Borno State government in continuation of the Commission's tour to affected territories in the 4 countries. Executive Secretary of the Commission, Ambassador Momo Nuhu, presented the strategy document to Governor Babagana Umara at the Government House, Maiduguri. Muhammad Guni reports.
The regional strategy document, which is a product of a wide range of consultations with relevant stakeholders at national, regional and international levels, seeks to encourage actors to key into a common approach toward addressing the challenges affecting the areas in the Lake Chad region. Executive Secretary of the Lake Chad Basin Commission, Ambassador Momo Nuhu, said, although governors of the affected countries are the principal actors responsible for development of the territorial action plan and coordination of the process of implementation, there should be ownership, coordination and support by the federal governments to ensure success of the process, as well as transition from stabilization to early recovery process, among others.
Stabilization, Your Excellency, cannot take place without peace and security. It is therefore not by accident that the second pillar of this strategy is the security and human rights pillar, which cuts across all other pillars.
The Commission's head of regional stabilization strategy, Dr. Chika Anyukwe, gave a comprehensive overview of regional strategy document covering 4 affected countries of the Lake Chad Basin. The strategy, according to him, outlined short, medium and long-term plans for development of the Lake Chad Basin region through 9 pillars and 40 strategy objectives. Governor Babagana Umara appreciated the Lake Chad Basin Commission for its active participation in the Lake Chad Basin Governors Conference that culminated in the idea of regional stabilization strategy.
Most importantly, we shall provide support to all bodies in ensuring both the vertical and horizontal coordination mechanism in implementing the programs.
The governor expressed commitment of the Borno State government and other sister states towards supporting the Lake Chad Basin Commission in achieving the 9 pillars, including humanitarian support, security and social infrastructure, among others. In Maiduguri, Mahmoud Goni,
NTA News.
The need for individuals and organizations to ensure that peace is reflected in every aspect of human endeavor has been described as the most effective mechanism for sustained cohesion and overall development of the society. This was part of recommendations made by stakeholders at the Northeast Zonal Flag Off campaign on building a people of peace, organized by National Orientation Agency, Borno State. The report. The essence of flagging up the Northeast Zonal campaign on building a people of peace is to re-emphasize the relevance of peace and further deepen peace-building efforts for harmonious as well as stabilization of the society. Representative of the Director General, National Orientation Agency, Ali Audu, said the disruption of long-standing peace in the state due to insurgency was what informed the choice of flagging up the campaign in Borno towards complete restoration of unity and tranquility, which the inhabitants are known for. Making recommendations, State Director, National Orientation Agency, Yahya Imam, as well as representatives of military and paramilitary organizations at the event, called for holistic approach on issues concerning peace being an essential ingredient of development.
We are now availing to them a platform of engagement so that they can air their opinion that can contribute to peaceful coexistence.
On their part, Zonal Director, NTA Maiduguri Ibrahim Laden Yusuf, and General Manager, Peace FM, Fatih Audu Yusuf, are sure to use the media to reach out to the larger society on the campaign of building a people of peace.
We are going to use our medium, the NTA, to reach to the masses, to the majority of the people, using our different languages.
Peace FM, as one of the media agencies in Nigeria, of course, we're spreading the gospel of peace.
The occasion also featured a dialogue session where representatives of the show of Borno, as well as that of civil society organizations and NGOs, offered far-reaching suggestions towards achieving the desired result. In Maiduguri, Abubakar Mohammed Musa. You're watching Nationwide on the Nigerian Television Authority. Let's now return to Lydia in Abuja for more stories. Lydia.
Thank you, Abubakar. Next set of reports from the National Assembly. Minister of Works and Housing Babatunde Fashola says the country's 2020 mass housing projects will pay more attention to cooperative societies for the benefit of Nigerians in both formal and informal sectors of the economy. This was part of his briefing on the targets and successes recorded in the housing sector during an oversight by the Senate Committee on Housing. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu reports.
Assessment of the projects contained in the 2017 to 2019 budget appropriations to the Ministry of Housing and the role of its agencies were the areas of concern to the senators. The Works and Housing Minister Babatunde Fashola says adequate provisions were made to ensure separation of mandates of funds provision and housing projects by the Federal Mortgage Bank and Federal Housing Authority. Through this process, he said, federal government policies and programs could be applied and actualized effectively.
The other thing we're doing is a lot of maintenance to create employment for artisans, masons, bricklayers, plumbers, painters, welders, and so on and so forth.
On the summary of the projects, the minister said 43 different housing projects were completed, 52 will be ready for completion this year, while another 15 projects are ongoing. The committee required documents on the awarding dates of the projects and expected completion dates, breaking down of allocation and percentage level of completion for the commencement of assessment visits. In Abuja, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives Committee on Industry says it will continue to advocate the speedy return of the Standards Organization of Nigeria to the various entry points of the country to forestall the influx of substandard goods into Nigeria. The committee stated this during a visit to their headquarters for a tour of its ultra-modern laboratory in Ogba, Lagos. Ken Egbeluge reports.
On October 10, 2011, former President Goodluck Jonathan approved the sacking of 10 government agencies, including the Standards Organization of Nigeria, from the country's seaports. Worried by this development, The House Committee on Industry visited Sun Laboratories to have a first-hand knowledge on the operation of the agency.
Nigeria is the place where everything is dumped on us, just because the people who are supposed to be looking at all these substandard products at the wharf are absent there, not of their own volition, but because they are not allowed to do their work. We have made up our minds that we are going to get up into this and make sure that within a short time, working with the executive and the ministry concerned, that Sun will get back to the seaports and the airports.
The Director General, Standards Organization of Nigeria, explained that the organization has trained personnel to carry out its mandates.
Assure Nigerians that if we have an enabling environment for effective service delivery, we will do more.
The Standards Organization of Nigeria also reiterated its support to the lawmakers in advocating the return of the agency to the ports and other entry points in Lagos. Ken Igbeluge, NTA News.
Adebola Oluwole Dada is in Ibadan with more reports on Nationwide. Hello, Adebola.
Lydia, welcome to Ibadan. Underrepresentation of women in politics in Nigeria has been identified as a buildup of gender gap in access to education, finance, and labor force. To change this narrative, Women Inclusion Campaign must begin from the cradle. This is the take of the United States Consul General Claire Pringent at the Women in Leadership and Politics Hangout at the American Corner, Ibadan. Funke Bidamiton was there and now reports.
Well, it's the month of March, and if you think you're done with hearing about women, then you may just be making a mistake. This is the month when everything about women come to the forefront. We're talking about women in politics, women in leadership. How well have we fared? The dialogue, which dwelt on gender equality, women inclusion and women empowerment, had the Consul General of the United States Consulate in Nigeria as lead speaker, where a paradigm shift from mere rhetorics to affirmative action on women was advocated.
The U.S. government believes that including women in economic roles as well as in political leadership is critical for the future of Nigeria.
One after the other, discussants shared experiences in politics and other spheres of influence and deliberated on the way forward.
All Nigerian women decide to come out with one candidate. Definitely they may win the president of Nigeria.
A lady also has the same rights and privileges as also a boy. Don't be stereotyped, don't be fixed in one place. Show them that you can achieve your dreams.
Our young girls are given the opportunity to know what is happening to their forebearers and how to correct the narrative. In Ibadan, Funke Bidamiton, NTA News.
And that's it from Ibadan. It's over to you, Lydia.
Thank you, Adebola. Private sector participation in driving federal government vision of taking 100 million Nigerians out of poverty line within the time frame of 10 years is gradually gathering momentum. The latest initiative is driven by 3 critical partners in youth development with grant support to realize enterprising proposals for economic growth. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports.
The commitment of this Nigerian youth in contributing to economic development of the country is championed by 3 non-profit organizations with similar objective of increasing access to financial grants. The 1.2 million naira each disbursed to 6 beneficiaries towards enhancing health, agriculture, technology and vocational skills as 6-month completion cycle.
Our hope and objective is, at the long run, when they succeed, we can come back and report back to the Nigerian people through the media so that we can also see how we can scale this youth development fund.
We know that sustainable development cannot be achieved without full participation of different people. It has to be inclusive. So that's why Christian Aid is funding this.
Jos Zuru, a physically challenged who specializes in project management, is one of the beneficiaries and promised prudent utilization of the grant.
We will call you again to see how our work is done in the community, and you are going to see the impact on the community.
It's judiciously going to be used for Anambra youths.
The likes of Jos, who decline self-pity and embrace opportunity, wish to surface in a more productive sectors, especially with emerging threat on global economy. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
And I join my colleague in Enugu for more reports on Nationwide.
Thank you, Lydia, and welcome to Enugu. The federal government says the delivery of the Akanu Ibiam International Airport Enugu before Easter is sacrosanct. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika gave this assurance when he inspected the level of work at the airport in Enugu State. Amechi Pius has the details.
Construction work at the Akanu Ibiam International Airport has been impressive and round the clock as men of the construction company handling the rehabilitation are doubling efforts to beat the March 31st deadline. The aviation minister inspected the runway and other rehabilitated areas of the airport, where he described the quality of work at the facility as satisfactory.
We have the turning pads to be of concrete as against the asphalt, which improves operational efficiency to ensure that where the loads are being deposited on the runway during turning is being done so strongly to withstand all of those pressures and weight and the turning effect.
He told newsmen that government was committed to delivering to the people of Enugu and by extension the southeast a world-class runway of international standard.
Very insistent on before Easter. And I'm very sure that we'll beat the target. We'll get to deliver this procurement before Easter.
Sirika also pointed out clearly that government was also putting measures in place to ensure adequate maintenance of the facility upon completion. In Enugu, Amechi Pius, NTA News.
As part of its ongoing inroads to intervention and rehabilitation in 43 tertiary institutions in Nigeria, the Federal Ministry of Works has handed over 3 internal roads totaling 2.2 kilometers to the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Mina Adobiukobasi reports.
The 3 internal roads inspected and handed over are Ikejiani, Ugwegede, and Engineering Gate of the University of Nigeria and Nsukka, respectively, and totals 2.2 kilometers. The inspection and subsequent handover of the roads under the federal government intervention on rehabilitation of internal roads for federal universities was led by the Minister of Works and Housing, represented by the Federal Controller, Works and Housing, Enugu State, Oyekome Olufemi.
We have started this, and we have done it so well that university communities are applauding the quality of work, and I want to believe that it will favorably be disposed to giving them some more attention.
The university community appreciated the federal government's efforts in road rehabilitation and other infrastructural development.
I want to say a big thank you to the minister, and to say that we also look that it is something happening in other tertiary institutions. And as you said, it is also work in progress.
This road construction and rehabilitation has brought about improved infrastructural ambience of the university community.
The team was well received by the university community, while the minister's representative admonished them to utilize the roads for the benefit of the academic community. In Enugu, Mina Adobiukobasi, NTA News.
And that is it from Enugu. Nationwide continues with Leader in Abuja after this commercial break.
Thank you for staying. Reports just reaching us say the High Presidential Committee set up to assess the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the nation's economy has formally submitted an interim report to President Muhammadu Buhari. Chairman of the committee, Minister of Finance Zainab Ahmed, however, told newsmen that the President directed the members to deepen consultations on the matter and report back to him with an update next week.
What we have been mandated to do is to ensure that the business of government continues to run as much as possible normally, that government agencies are funded, that there must be continuous investments in critical infrastructure that would ensure continuous growth, and also concentrate on programs and projects that will enhance employment of our people. We're looking at ways and means in which the revenue of government will be stabilized and that we are able to fund the state through the FAC process at a level that is averagely expected and planned for in both the federal as well as the national budgets. So as we finish our consultations next week, we will be expecting some approvals, and then we will be meeting with you to inform you of the specific approvals that we have been able to obtain from His Excellency the President.
Of course, usually the product prices follow the crude oil price, but we're still consulting and we'll get back to you. Please be patient.
This group has been assigned with the responsibility to conduct an assessment. There's no need for anybody to think that, government, whether federal or state, will not be able to conduct its activities. I can assure you that by the time we come back, notwithstanding, yes, there's a drop in the price of crude, we are going to come up with a mechanism that will make it possible, both for the federal and the state government, right, to be able to conduct their businesses. No doubt, yes, there will be areas where we'll say either defer because they are not so much of a priority, but I can assure you that we're thinking very seriously on this issue to ensure that the country is not so badly affected like it may affect others, and as a result, I'm saying no need for anybody to panic or worry. That's our job.
The Minister of Finance used the opportunity to announce that 285 billion naira capital allocation has so far been released to a number of agencies towards sustaining the provision of critical infrastructure.
Transport, the Ministry of Works and Housing, Niger Delta, a number of ministries and agencies that have important infrastructure projects have got their funds. Also this week, we have been able to release to the Ministry of Transport the counterpart funding that is required, provided for in our budget, that is required for the important railway projects that are currently ongoing with financing from the China Exim Bank. So there are funds that have been released this week. So in addition to the 285, there is up to about 220 million US dollars that have been released this week for counterpart funding for railway projects.
The committee gave an update on the capital releases so far from the 2020 Appropriations Act. And that concludes Nationwide. Thank you for watching. I am Lydia Odidi Ochi. Bye for now.